everybody, this is Josh.
And this is CJ.
And welcome back to Comic Versus Season 5.
It is Season 5. Don't worry, we're doing this one so that they don't know that a couple of takes ago you messed up and forgot what season we were on.
Yes.
Because it's only been 18 months.
I'm getting old.
You're getting old because it's been so long since we did Season 4. And what's really funny is we've gotten so many new subscribers now. Only the diehards remember, and only the diehards are the ones asking for more Comic Book Versus still. And, I mean, it's great to see. I mean, it's incredible to think that, we've grown by about 20,000 in the last 18 months.
That's crazy.
And we're still getting comments every single day for new episodes of Comic Book Versus, but also for your screenplays. So
yeah, and we're getting comments on the old ones that are
exactly.
critiquing us on stuff that...
Critiquing us on stuff.
Was
not realizing it was so long ago.
Yeah.
And, but we actually have... we've got an incredible season for you guys. The future is very, very bright. A lot of the time off has been both, being busy, but also planning for the future and setting stuff up, laying the groundwork. And a lot of that is going to come after this season. We got to get through Season 5 first. But don't worry, it's not like we're going to be rushing through this thing. We actually have an incredible 14-episode season this time for you guys, filled with incredible matchups, top to bottom, some huge name characters that we've never, ever done before. And I'm just excited to share it for you, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Now, going into this, because it's going to be the first one that we've done in a while, as CJ mentioned, 18 months. So just to go quickly over everything, this is a stat-based show. A lot of shows that do kind of versus matchups. What makes Comic Versus kind of different since the beginning is that we look at the stats of the characters, and we put the characters against each other that are similar, but are also similar stat-wise. So you would never get an opportunity to see a character like Thor, for example, go up against Batman.
Yeah,
that wouldn't
they're
happen.
Two different. And you can argue day in and day out who would win that matchup, and there's a great argument to be had there, but then again you can debate just about anything in this life, especially in the comic book life. So here's how we're going to go. Our mission statement at this channel is we want to be the most factual, the most up-to-date, all the time when we make our videos. So what we do is we take these two similar characters, look at their statistics from the comments, from the comics, looking top to bottom at their feats, what they've been shown to do, and we come away with a grid, a power grid for you here, and we'll compare them, and then from that base, look at the statistical analysis for each characters. Then we're going to debate, and then we're going to take what can't be quantified by statistics and try and figure out who would win. So, Josh, without further ado, are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm going first with Gamora. I think I might win this one purely off of name brand.
Don't share the trade secrets with the people, Josh, but yeah, you probably do have this one off name value. But honestly, I think statistically, I've got it in the bag, but I'll cede the floor.
Yes, so these are the stats for Gamora. As you can see, we do, as CJ hinted at, we do have a grid. The grid is actually based off the Marvel Power Grid, if you guys wanted a good basis. We actually have made a video separate explaining our Power Grid, so you can go check that out. It will be linked in the description and the comments. But moving on, Gamora has 4 bars of strength. It is superhuman. She both has cybernetic and biological enhancements on top of her alien physiology. A lot of that's due to the fact that she was raised by Thanos. And there's a very convoluted origin I'm not going to go into today on that, but to very much simplify it, which I'm sure a lot of you guys already know that kind of simplified version of the movie, basically Gamora taken by Thanos, raised by Thanos to become universe, galaxy, level assassin. That basically simplifies it enough, even though it's a lot more complicated. Maybe there'll be a borrow on her soon. Now, for speed, she's also enhanced. As I hinted at her strength, she does have enhancements, and that plays a part into both her speed along with her strength. Fighting, she is 6 out of 7 bars, which is the equivalent of being a master of several forms of combat. Like I said before, she is nicknamed, I should say, the world's deadliest assassin, or the deadliest woman in the universe, and she's given that title for a reason.
Very different, scary titles.
Yes, very, very much. She's a very brutal character. Durability, she is 4 bars. Like I mentioned before, goes along with her enhancements. 4 bars technically means regenerative abilities alongside just having tough skin. And that definitely goes a part into her character. If you've actually ever read her in comics, she is pretty brutal. She'll take on an army by herself. It's actually said she has the strength, superior to Spider-Man, so to speak, but not too far above it, even though she is.
It's kind of similar.
Yeah, but she's just usually on paper, just very similar compared just because of her frame and stuff. But she's considered as dangerous as Iron Man. And if you know anything about Iron Man, you know he's basically a walking, military. He's basically a walking Air Force, Army, Navy, you name it. And then intelligence, she is 3 bars, which is the equivalent of being educated. A lot of that, comes from her being raised by Thanos. Thanos isn't raised no idiot. And energy projection is 2. That's just close range. She has a very, very minimal amount of energy discharge ability. It gets waived a lot in comics. They don't usually even bring it up, but she technically does have that.
It's like Superman's cold breath nowadays. Superman never uses his cold breath anymore.
It's basically just super breath now.
Yeah.
And with that being said,
big ass lungs.
Give it to CJ.
And I have, of course, the main man himself, Lobo. And this is a really interesting kind of thing for me to try and summarize here, because as you see in the picture, that's not Lobo that looks anything like Danny Trejo. That's not the Lobo from my childhood. That's not that incredibly insane, almost WWE wrestler looking Lobo. And that's because a couple of years back, very, very recently, Lobo actually got a sexy new look and a completely updated origin that as of right now we don't know anything about. So he's still a Zarnian, and he still has all the perks of being a Zarnian, which we'll talk about in a second. And the first place to start with that is 5 bars of strength. And that is really, really strong. I believe he can lift somewhere around 25 to 50 tons, or was it upwards to potentially even 75 tons? So very, very strong guy, even though he doesn't look like it. He looks like a regular, pretty buff dude. Looks to be about Josh size, actually, but actually lifts 75 tons, more than even Josh can lift. 3 bars of speed, which means enhanced above normal human levels. Nothing like Flash level, but he is still moving pretty quickly, 5 bars of fighting, that means he's the master of a single form, which kind of is since we don't know a lot about Lobo's origin, which is kind of just a way to say that Lobo really fights one way. He doesn't mix it up like we see with Gamora or Batman or people that clearly know multiple martial arts styles. Lobo generally kind of has this brawler style, this brutal brawler, kind of like somebody you would get into a fight with at a bar. Like, he fights a little bit like that, just very, very good. So he's kind of like a little drunken fist going on right there. 4 bars of durability. He has minor regenerative abilities, like Josh mentioned. He does heal from things. Well, one, he's very, very durable. It's hard for him to take a hit. And even in the pre-New 52, he was functionally immortal. He couldn't die. He could not enter heaven or hell. But he would always he was, literally pretty much immortal. And in this universe, he still only really has the 4 bars of durability, which suggests minor regeneration powers. But he's survived some pretty crazy shit, like getting his block knocked off. I was about to say his knock blocked off. His block knocked off by Supergirl. Yeah, different definition there, I think, the other way. And he's gone toe-to-toe with Superman. He even, at one point, suplexed Superman, interestingly enough. He's walked away from fights with both of the DC Universe's foremost Kryptonians. 3 bars of intelligence, as we say, he is learned, though he may not look like it or talk like it. He knows what's up. He's an alien. It's a function of that. And 1 bar of energy projection. Lobo has no known energy projection. So now we get to the fun part, where we get to debate who we think would win. You've seen the statistics, so you might already have an idea in your head, but this is where we're going to hopefully sway you one way or the other. So, Josh, I'm going to go back to you. Why do you think Gamora would take this matchup?
I think she would take it purely off of fighting ability. They're both pretty, I'd say, evenly matched, but Gamora, I think, is better trained, or I should say is well trained better. Like that grammar is intentionally upsettingly bad, because that's how Lobo would say it, because he is not as smart as Gamora. And I'm not saying, and a lot of that's because of the fact that Thanos raised Gamora, and Thanos has pretty high standards, I would like to think, considering the character he is, and also a lot that goes into her intelligence too. I know their bars are the same, but their intelligence, their educational upbringing is a lot different. When you think about it, Gamora was raised, was raised, obviously I wasn't raised by Thanos. Gamora was raised, a lot in strategy, tactician-like stuff.
A lot of stuff that comes along with being trained to be an assassin, I guess.
I think basically the biggest distinction was that Gamora was trained for intergalactic warfare and civilizational subjugation and things like that. She was basically made to be a true living weapon. Lobo was not made or raised or trained to be that. He was just trained to be basically a hitman. And I think that's the big difference between the two, because I think that will be what will give the edge. Because if they were to fight, Gamora would apply a lot more intellect to the fight, while I feel like Lobo would put a lot more Lobo into the fight. He'd basically approach it the same way he would approach a hit. And that would kind of suck for him, because usually his hits aren't really
they don't go super well.
They're not really that well trained.
All right.
When you think about it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I'd like to take a little bit of offense with the fact that Lobo is not a dummy. Part of it is like we usually give a little intelligence boost to people that are aliens just because they have knowledge of all this advanced technology that humans don't have knowledge of. But Lobo's not like stupid by any stretch of the imagination. He's actually very, very good with sort of the intelligence side of his job, where he's a master of deception, believe it or not. I mean, he's fake. He could literally like flatline himself, and he's done that multiple times to like sneak into medical facilities and stuff like that, really high security areas. So he's not an idiot. I mean, he wouldn't have been able to survive in his job if he was an idiot. But I think the biggest X factor for Lobo is actually the fact, one, his strength advantage with his fighting style. Coupled with that, yeah, Gamora might dodge some punches, but when he hits her, it's going to be brutal, and it is going to be, he's going to knock her block off. And I think it would, that one opening, I think it would stagger her enough for multiple shots. And, we're not even considering the fact that Lobo uses his beloved choppers. And so the weapons battle there would be incredible, but he also would get more force behind his blows, which I think would be something that Gamora would have a lot of trouble dealing with. And it's not like he's not agile as well. I think a lot of people would look at their pictures and think, oh, Gamora's probably going to be dancing around him like a trained, sword fighter, the first sword of Bravos or something like that. But really, Lobo's very agile as well. He's shown off some very, very acrobatic, skilled moves. But really, why I'm going to give the edge to Lobo, I should say, is that Lobo is just a crazy motherfucker. And I think that unpredictability is something that Gamora has no way to plan for. So even though she's intelligent, I think Lobo kind of brings that edge and brings that unpredictability, to use that word again, that she would just have a hard time dealing with. And so I think she might be looking for a more refined fighter, and I think that's where her background in that intelligence, the way she was brought up, might actually hurt her a little bit. So that's my case. I think Lobo wins on the craziness factor alone.
That's good.
That's okay, son.
my brief rebuttal to that is I have two. They're both very brief. Second one briefer than the first. My first part of my rebuttal is to say, in response to Lobo's strength advantage, which he does obviously have on Gamora.
He's about 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, to that I would say, I've referenced the fact that she's been raised by Thanos. And I mean, I'm not even going to go back the 30 plus years of history I could take from Gamora's, fighting history. But she did fight very well the character Angela. Angela is stronger. Top of my head, yeah, she is stronger than Lobo. And I would think Angela's also, actually I know for a fact Angela's a better fighter than Lobo because of reasons I will not go into in this matchup, wink wink. But Angela is a better fighter than Lobo, she is stronger than Lobo, and she fought Gamora, and Gamora held her own. So with that being said, I believe that would, kind of cancel out what CJ's rebuttal was. My second part of the rebuttal is one sentence. Editorial will not mandate the loss of a Guardians team member.
That's true, but Marvel Editorial isn't running this show, so... Well, maybe, it depends. If Marvel buys us out in that time, then maybe we'll see. But that actual decision does not go to Marvel Editorial, and in fact, it goes to you, our viewers. So let us know in the comments section down below, who do you think would win in this Mono-E-Womano matchup, Gamora or Lobo? You know my side, you've heard Josh's side, you've seen the statistics, now it's time for you to decide. So let us know down below. Josh, any final words?
When you guys vote down in the comments section below, give us a little bit reason why. Maybe also maybe say what your favorite character or comic with the character is. Always gives us cool stuff to read.
Sure thing. And so that about wraps it up for this episode of Comic Book Versus. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Signing off, this is CJ, and for Josh, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Adios.